So today I'm going to show you guys how to do a double flare, which is a pretty common flare you'll see in basically all brake lines, especially newer ones on newer-ish cars. Some older cars have it as well, but a lot of people don't like doing the brake line stuff just because they don't know how or it's a pain, they've never done it. I certainly wouldn't be afraid of trying it. I think that's how any kind of, backyard mechanic or DIY guy gets better. You just try trial and error. But anyway, so you get a kit. They come pretty simple. So here, this is a 3/16 brake line. We've got our little double flare piece here, you can see. I've already went ahead and cut this line, and all you're going to do is stick that inside. Some people get really crazy with, oh, it's got to be so far away, and they'll measure it, and yeah, it doesn't hurt to measure it out in a sense. However, I don't think it's really necessary because you're going to push it only so far, and it's one of these things where I feel like you're going to know if you went too far with it. I'm just going to take our brake line, which I dabbed a little bit of fluid on it. I think this is one of these things that's kind of personal preference. Some people like it, some people don't. However, I find that just, if you go to a machine shop, for example, everything's done with fluid, right? So if you put a little bit of fluid on here, it's only going to benefit making your flare, as you don't have the dry contact surfaces of both metals coming together, which can obviously maybe crack it. And before someone pipes up and says, oh yeah, that's impossible, I've been there, I've done that, and now I put fluid on it, and I've never had an issue since. So hey, maybe it's worked for you, but I'm just giving my 2 cents. So we're just gonna give this, on this particular kit, a couple hand cranks, and you'll kind of see there if you zoom in a bit maybe, but you'll see that brake line start to flare out a little bit, so you can see doing now. I find with this kit, normally it's about 1.5 cranks or so, give or take, and then I'll get my little bubble. This is not a bubble flare, so don't confuse it with that. That's a separate kind of kit. So now you can see I have a slight bubble going on there. And now we just have to take this tool, flip it around, and then we can put the flaring tool here on the opposite side. So it'll be on this side here. And then that'll enable us to just flare it right out.
One eternity later.
All right, so now I have this flipped around. You can see with the little bubble there on the end of the flare. You try and put this close to flush as you can with this. Generally, your bubble will dictate how flush it can sit inside of it. So now we're just going to go ahead, flare it out till basically it flushes up with the edge of our tool. Going to take our time. If you go too fast, I find a lot of times it'll crack the steel because we're not exactly working with the best of metals these days, as I'm sure everyone knows that. And then we'll just back the tool off. Take it out. And you can see we got a nice little flare there. Now what I'll generally do is I'll pull that out, and I will just kind of verify that it's going to fit with the fitting I'm working with. And basically there you have it. That's a double flare. One last thing I think that's always worth mentioning is this is a hard installed part, right? I mean, we're dealing with a line here. Just like anything else, measure twice, cut once. Make sure you got it long enough and take into account how long it is threaded versus unthreaded, because what you'll end up doing if you're not paying attention to that, it's a 1/4 inch here or there. You go to install your brake lines, now all of a sudden it's short and you got to do it all over again. And sometimes that is another run to the parts store, which, hey, it's great to go get a coffee or whatever, but let's face it, nobody wants to be driving more than they need to, because the last thing you want to be doing is doing it twice. So double check it, do it right. Hopefully this video helped you guys a bit today. So now that we got our brake lines verified to be working, we can give the old Ken Block handle a couple pulls, go around some corners, have some fun.